carried this banner to Washington, D.C., to Missouri, to Illinois. You've all seen this, okay? Stop separating American families. Amen. Amen. All right, so most of you have heard me, or you followed me, or you've seen me on YouTube. You've seen that I have been yakking my head off for a good 6 years just on CPS. And if you really go back in history, you'll see as early as 2010, I have a YouTube video up where I went to the Tennessee General Assembly and talked about judicial reform and the things that I saw happening in family court. So you know my theme, you know my story. Shelley did an excellent job in talking to you about and educating the public who are watching on the various live videos today, and I'm sure we'll have several uploads of this. She did an excellent job of talking about the history and about ASFA and that funding. So I want to talk to you about change, okay? I have said for the past 3 or 4 years, I mean, we've been marching up to Washington, D.C. I've been to my state legislator. I've done talks before them. I've been criticized, arrested, and criminalized. I am now a 2-time convicted felon walking around. Yeah.
All for the right thing now.
Nobody really wants to lock me up, so.
It's all for the right thing. You're doing it for the kids, so that's
I'm probably the only 2-time convicted felon that's ROR. Walking around, I'm not even on bond, right? I don't report to anybody. But I have said that the change is going to come tangentially. The change is not going to come from within the system. It's going to come from forces that are around the system. And those forces, such as you, and many of you I have seen or known or heard, or even if I have not met you personally, trust me, I do social media every day, unless I'm like really stressed and have some deadline. But I mean, every day I'm either posting on TikTok, posting on social media, watching stories like yours, and met Shelley, brought Shelley to Washington, D.C., met her there. And I'm always working on forces that surround the system, okay? We are the force that surrounds the system. And I have also said it's going to come from mid-America and not from our bureaucrats, okay? Because, again, just like you've already heard today, and it's a repeated theme, there's money, 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 money. In Tennessee, the Department of Children's Services comes to the General Assembly every year and asks for $50 million more. And they are constantly criticized and audited that they're not doing good. Kids are abused, kids are lost, kids are abandoned, that they can't keep a staff. And every year they ask for $50 million more. So I went in, I did a chart for them, and I showed them. And I said, you must be doing it wrong. You can't be doing it right. So let's talk about where we are, okay? Because I'm actually very proud of some things. I am very proud of the fact that we have had these alternative news flows bubble up, okay? People such as the citizen reporters, such as Mary Petrie, who does Slam the Gavel, Jim White doing Northwest Liberty News. We have Exposed CPS. We have Michelle Chan in California. So I am so proud. We have Heather Carter in Arizona. We have Shelley on TikTok. I see her all the time. So I am so proud of just the voices that have expanded their platform by the use of social media. I mean, social media is a dream team, you guys. It is a dream team, and that is why they want to shut me up. Okay, they are so scared to death of my voice that every time I turn around, they're trying to gag me. Even on this most recent fraudulent arrest, the first thing the DA did was try to gag me, because I found out why. It was because a judge had secretly, ex parte, extrajudicially, initiated an investigation on me behind my back, sending a secret letter to a witness, okay? And so, and getting that witness to respond to him directly, okay? So that's the kind of crap we're dealing with, all right? But so proud of the citizen alternative news. All right, now I'm also going to say there's another level of news, because I say once you get the narrative out there and you talk the talk, you talk the talk, you talk the talk, news channels and news media watch what's going on social media. You know, they watch the tags, they watch videos that get 100,000, 200,000 views. And there are some, they're not mainstream media, but they're still kind of an alternative but widely broadcast media source, such as Mother Jones did a great article out of Massachusetts. Don't know if you saw that, about Western Massachusetts and how they couldn't get attorneys for parents, and that cases were delayed for months because they were unable to get attorneys. The Tennessee Tribune in my state, I had run about 30 stories over the past 12 months. I credit us for getting the commissioner fired and getting a new commissioner in place, which I don't know if that's good or not yet, but we're going to see. ProPublica has done some incredible stories, and I want to say that they so blasted and so exposed a judge in Tennessee that she totally backed down and she got off the bench and she resigned. And they just did another story on, I can't remember, I just did a blog on it if you guys follow my blogs, but they just did another one about CPS and the representation that families have. Civil Beat, I just I just did a blog, I posted it. Civil Beat out of Hawaii just ran like 12 stories. And the great thing about it is they're covering the gamut of the issues such as refusing to do parental placement, the issues of not providing proper services, the issues of not getting proper legal representation for parents. Okay, so they are doing the same thing we did with Tennessee Tribune, is we've reached out and we tried to cover all those issues. Insight is another good online publication, The Guardian, Chronicle of Social Change, and even NBC did a great podcast on Do No Harm. So the important thing is there are voices. Our voices escalate to become the next level of voices, okay? And then the next level, and then the next level. And once we show that this pattern is so pervasive, that's when we get a bigger audience, either through Congress or through an oversight committee, to show the abuse of the funding. I'm also just so proud of the moms and dads, okay? I am so proud of the moms, dads, grandparents, those who are not afraid. And honestly, the real-time stealing your children videos, I gotta say, you know, because I've walked with many parents through this, and I know that it's a very tough thing because there's embarrassment attached with it, right? It's like you're embarrassed that you've lost your children. People don't know if they want their name out there. They know that the government's going to use it against them, okay? But I love the real-time videos of stealing children, and I have done it myself. And I showed up at my clients in a parking lot and live streamed from Facebook where they stole a baby from a parking lot, a perfectly healthy 4-week-old baby. And it within 2 days had 200,000 views. So we have to, and I know it's like, where do we find those people that they are like harassing and terrorizing and stuff? And it's hard to find them, but I know there was a great story out of Idaho. If you watch that, I think it's Cyrus. Yeah, there was also, of course, Saisha Mercado in Florida. I watched hers in real time on Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, watching the whole thing unfold. So the moms and dads who are brave enough to stand up and say, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, I've not done anything wrong. Or the grandparents who stand up and show that they are being denied access to their children when they are an alternative placement to foster care. And of course, I'm proud of y'all for showing up. So give yourselves a
Thank you, Connie.
All right, now, from here, what do we do from here? I want to share, I am, of course, they've created a whole bunch of chaos for me to keep me sort of beneath the radar, because they know once I'm unleashed, when I am unleashed, the Kraken will be all over them. So they created this bit of chaos that I have to deal with, but I'm also watching. So please just kind of keep your eyes open, follow the Family Forward Project on Facebook is where I'm most prominent. I'm also picking up other social media, but I did share out of the state of Michigan, there's a great order from the Supreme Court of Michigan, from the head justice there, and the Supreme Court there refused to overturn a termination of parental rights, and they refused to even consider it. But this Supreme Court justice wrote this order where she examined the entire file, and she talked about the tragedy of what had happened in the system. And it was a case where there was a mom who was struggling. She was in an abusive relationship. She was having trouble getting out of it. She didn't have a place to stay. She was having trouble getting mental health help, and they took, her child was actually with somebody that she had voluntarily placed them with, but then they refused to give the child back to her. And then she goes through this whole process. She tries to get mental health help. She tries to get a stable home. And she does, and she fails, and she does, and she fails. But finally she gets there, and she has by the time they have a TPR hearing, and they still terminate her parental rights. And what this judge talked about is how the cliches, and I talk about this all the time, the judicial cliches that are built into CAPTA, like the best interest of the child, the reasonable efforts, the contrary to the welfare of the child. If you wonder where they're getting that language, it's from CAPTA. And CAPTA is, they build these cliches in that the judge has to make these findings, but the judge just puts those words in there and never really makes any findings. Least restrictive alternative, okay? They just use the cliches. Well, this judge pulled out that there were other cliches that were appearing in these cases. For instance, and this is one, I mean, she's in Michigan, I've heard it in Tennessee, I'm sure y'all have heard it in Florida, but even when a parent completes their classes, the agency will say, we don't think she benefited from the classes, right? And it's like, what is that? What is that? Or they'll say, well, there's still risk of future harm or substantial risk in the future. Okay, so they have like no proof. They're like they are like predicting the future. They are not really taking a look. They don't have any objective measurements of that. And the other thing that the judge said, which is very true and very heartbreaking to me, is she really put the flash in the eyes of it's such a dichotomy that the court only has two choices. The court only has a choice of permanent, total severance of a child's relationship with the parent or custody, right? And that's not always the best to have only those two choices. And I know this is all out of the roots of ASFA. We have to ban ASFA. ASFA is of the past. It was good for the time because children were being lost in the system and everybody was forgetting about them, but we must do away with ASFA. Now I want to tell you, CAPTA is up for reauthorization. So when we went to Washington in September, we try to track what's going on, but we did get a hold of the new CAPTA reauthorization bill. It was supposed to go to vote before the first of the year. However, with you all know what happened with all the craziness in midterm elections, it is really unlikely anything's going to get passed before the first of the year. But we need to grab hold and follow up with this. I have read through the entire CAPTA bill, new CAPTA bill. They have struck out the entire old CAPTA. They've struck out the whole thing and they've rewrote it. And there are some very important things in there. And one of them is family advocacy. So I have said, I have gone to my Tennessee legislature, I have gone and talked in many forums about we need family advocates independent of the system who are not sold out or not bought by the system. Going to be very difficult to do, and it's going to take a lot of resources outside of the system to make that happen. And I mean all kinds of resources. I mean, of course, there needs to be some funds eventually, but it also just needs to be human resources. And it needs to be the type of human resources that wakes up every day and says, I can help somebody today. Okay? Yeah, every day, I can help somebody today, and what's that going to look like? Now, I'm going to tell you, as somebody who's worked in family law for 28 years, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep yourself in an emotional place to do that. And so, therefore, those people need to have support. Okay? So, there needs to be support for the supporters, all right? So it's going to take a lot of human resources, and we need to have those conversations about how we create peer-to-peer advocacy and also that upper level of that type of advocacy that understands how to get parents directed to understanding the administrative rules, the rules of the agency, understanding how all the tricks, okay? It would be huge if parents just understood the tricks, right? Because they go in, they trust the system. Even as a lawyer who worked for people for years, people would ask me what's going to happen in court. And you know, I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, when I first started, I would look at a case that seemed to be so extreme, black or white, and I would say, oh, don't worry about it, this is going to happen, right? Or, oh, you didn't hurt your child, we'll get through this. And then the total reverse would happen, right? Like the whole case would get flipped, switched around, people lie, whatever. So I had to start telling people, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to lie. I don't know what the other side's going to do. I don't know what evidence they're going to hide. I don't know who's going to say what. So I have to tell you, it's not predictable. And that, for a parent who's just lost their child and they've not done anything wrong, it's like stepping into quicksand. I don't know how else to describe it, because there's no way out of it. I mean, you can't swim out of it, you can't walk out of it, you can't climb out of it. You just are frozen to stand still. You just become frozen in time. So, so the family advocate is so important, and I know that I'm seeing those pop up.